what it do? It's your boy Q, and welcome back to YouTube. And look, we gotta have a conversation, and I promise you this isn't gonna be one of those like DBD is dying and we need to figure it out sort of videos. But I do think anyone who has been around the game for a minute knows that the game's been in this very weird, like unhealthy, arguably like dying player base sort of stage. And while I think DBD addressing the matchmaking situation is a good start to fixing the problem, as we did talk about somewhat recently over here on the channel, I think I actually have a resolution that really helps move things in a more positive direction. Because for the history of DBD, the average accepted win condition has always been a 4K, which is honestly kind of strange because you can't win like more than a 4K, right? Other than I guess like doing it with gens left and how many. But I think that DBD needs a scoreboard that updates similar to like what we see in comp DBD organizations, especially the ones that update it live and not just at the end of the trial. And look, I know I can already hear people saying that it's a party game and it's not a competitive game and it'd lead to like being seen as more of a competitive game or like whatever. But I promise I'm actually going to address all of those by the end of this video. So make sure you stick around. But let's go ahead and get down to why DBD needs a scoreboard and why it'd actually be more healthy for Dead by Daylight as a whole. But before we do, we recently passed 400 subs, chasing down 500 by the end of the summer here on the YouTube channel. So if you enjoy the video, do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button, as we do upload multiple days a week, everything from competitive DBD, builds and fun gameplay, and conversational videos just like this. But anyways, what would a scoreboard and a scoring system in DBD look like? Almost anywhere that does comp DBD and like scoring per hooks is pretty well all similar to the typical 3 points for the first hook and 2 points for each hook after that, making that first fresh hook worth more. Now, the video that we are seeing is from the OCE scene where Death Hook is worth just 1 point. But when I think we talk about releasing this to live servers, I think it would make most sense for the Death Hook to be worth 3 points and the first two hooks to be worth 2 points apiece. And I'll explain why by the end of the video. And I know this goes against everything from what Patrick and the devs have shared in the past in regards to kills equaling skill and being the only scoring metric. But even when you talk about like a 7-stage 2K being a tie, that means a 3K is a win, or even a 2K 8-hook game, which kind of makes sense when you think about it, right? That'd mean as far as with like an MMR system, you gain 3+ ratings for those 3 individual 1v1s, and then a negative or neutral rating for the 4th. So it pretty well makes sense if you think about it, right? But why would a scoreboard help? Well, think about it. Gamers play a game to win on some sort of level, right? And never in the history of this game has there ever been any accepted version of a win other than a 4K or like a 3K and hatch sort of situation. And when you add in MMR, making people actually have to go against people of similar skill, and we'll use that term very, very loosely here, the Tunnel 2, Slug 2 formula has become more and more prevalent, or at least the tunnel one out at 4 or 5 gens and wait for that sweet, sweet no-ed crutch to kick in. All with killers claiming I have to play this way in order to win, or simply trying to blame it on MMR, when that just simply isn't the case. Because when you think back to it, right, like at what used to be considered red ranks before they switched grades to ranks, and now everything stayed the same except we call it iridescence instead of red ranks, which is so strange because if we're being honest, it's really just this same wait, what are we talking about? Right. So anyways, at the old red ranks, people got complacent with like widely random queues, right? Like with the equivalent of like golds to master rated players in something like Paladins or Overwatch queuing into the same lobby. It was part of the reason you would see people in like the top percentage of killer players being able to win a rather unhealthy amount of their games, if we're being honest. And I know, even though those killers won't exactly admit it, right? So of course, naturally, since these killers were winning a high percentage of their games, even without the good old Tunnel 2, Slug 2 formula, when they would then go up against solid squads every game, thanks to MMR, they don't win the same amount of games and the same amount of percentage of the games. But again, what is a win in DBD, right? Because if we implement a scoreboard in DBD, I think we have to talk about what kind of scoring system works to give us a balanced scoring system. Again, the match that is running in the background right now is from Dead by OCE, where players' hooks are worth 3, 2, and 1 point successively for killers making the first hook, or the fresh hook on that survivor, much, much more important. And if I can be honest, Y'all know your boy does a lot of shoutcasting for competitive DBD, and I really think that what Vigos was using for scoring prior to them shutting down really had it down right, especially because it did things that would make it really allowing killers to like flex, scoring the max points by doing things the quote-unquote right way. Because in Vigos, if you camped someone into another stage, you sacrificed a point. So if you tunneled 2 and then slugged 2, you were losing big points on those 2 fresh hook slugs to wrap up the game. Big points. So I think if you did do 2 points for each of the first 2 hooks and then 3 points for the sacrifice hook, that would make the elimination worth more. But more importantly, a non-camped elimination is worth the most. If you happen to end up a game by slugging early off rip, you do get a 7th and 8th progression. Those progressions are going to be made up with an additional point apiece. If you get a 4K, you do get an additional 2 points as well. If you happen to have any Moris, you get the adjacent hooks, while entity kills in the end game would get you the hook plus the progressions as well. Now, if you do happen to lose anybody to a bleed out because you're going for that slug for the 4K sort of scenario or anything like that, if you do lose somebody to a bleed out, that would result in 0, no new points. Now, this results in a total of 28 points being available to the killer. This also makes it so not every 4K is weighted the same, in the sense that someone camping and progressing stages is not going to score the same amount of points as someone playing quote-unquote fair, or at least in a way that I think survivors would agree is more fair and fun to play against, right? As far as for survivors, I think you keep it simple. 2 points per generator complete, an additional point for each stage left when that survivor happens to leave the trial. This is going to give the survivors less points available at 22, sure, but seeing that is a 4 versus 1, I think that is completely fair. Now, remember, the whole purpose of the scoreboard would be an indirect motivation to allow for a more healthy play style, while also letting killers realize that it's literally not all about the 4K. But at the end of the day, what I think is relatively irrelevant compared to what the community thinks as a whole is really what's most important. So let me know down in the comments below as far as what you think about DBD implementing a scoreboard. Do you like the idea? Do you think you have a better idea as far as for scoring maybe? Also, don't forget, we are chasing down 500 subs over here on the channel, which would put us halfway over to 1,000. We're trying to hit that mark by the end of the summer. So make sure you've already subscribed to the channel, where we do post everything from like conversational videos just like this to competitive DBD. And even from time to time, we post some fun builds and goofy gameplay like our recent Goofs, Doofs, Laughs, and Loops compilation. And I do truly appreciate you for making it this far in the video. And until we do catch y'all back over here on the YouTube, man, don't forget, with everything crazy going on in the world today, be true, be you, be sincere, game hard and love hard. All right, y'all? It's your boy Q, signing out.
If you ain't show something, you just don't wanna be me, but you will